For over 2,000 years, one question has stood at the center of biblical history. Who exactly is Jesus of Nazareth? Beyond his teachings and miracles, the Bible goes to great lengths to prove something profound, that Jesus was not just a man, but the promised Messiah, rooted in a divine bloodline stretching back to Abraham, David, and even Adam himself. But how do we trace his lineage? And what do the genealogies in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke really reveal about his earthly and divine heritage? Today we'll explore the genealogy of Jesus Christ, uncovering both Joseph's royal lineage and Mary's bloodline, along with historical timeframes and the remarkable lifespans of his ancestors. The Bible gives us two genealogies of Jesus, one in Matthew 1 and another in Luke 3. Matthew's genealogy traces Jesus' legal right to the throne of David through Joseph, his adoptive father. Luke's genealogy traces his biological lineage through Mary, showing that even by birth Jesus was a true descendant of King David. Matthew begins with Abraham and moves forward to Jesus, symbolizing fulfillment. Luke starts with Jesus and moves backward all the way to Adam, symbolizing restoration. And while Matthew lists 42 generations, Luke includes 77, a symbolic number of completeness. According to Genesis, Adam lived 930 years, created around 4000 BC, if we follow traditional biblical chronology. From Adam came Seth, born when Adam was 130. Seth lived 912 years, passing down the line through Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, and Methuselah, the oldest recorded human, who lived 969 years and died the same year as Noah's flood, around 2350 BC. Noah, born around 2948 BC, lived 950 years and survived the flood that reset humanity. His son Shem lived 600 years, and his descendants formed the line that led to Abraham, born around 2166 BC. These lifespans, while astonishing by modern standards, are consistent with early biblical patterns, gradually shortening after the flood, perhaps due to environmental and genetic changes. Abraham, born around 2166 BC, is the cornerstone of Israel's identity. God made a covenant with him, saying, "Through your seed, all nations of the earth will be blessed." Genesis 22:18. Abraham lived 175 years, and his faith was counted as righteousness. Through his son, Isaac, born when Abraham was 100, and Jacob, who lived 147 years, came the 12 tribes of Israel. From Jacob's sons, Judah was chosen for kingship. Jacob's blessing over Judah declared, "The scepter shall not depart from Judah." Genesis 49:10. That promise carried through the centuries, through Perez, Hezron, and Boaz, who married Ruth the Moabite, showing that even Gentiles could become part of God's redemption story. Their great-grandson David, born around 1040 BC, became the greatest king in Israel's history. He lived to about 70 years old, and God promised him an everlasting dynasty. "Your throne shall be established forever." 2 Samuel 7:16. From Abraham to David, we see the formation of God's chosen nation and the birth of the royal line. But the real miracle is how God wove redemption through imperfect people, liars, foreigners, adulterers, and kings, proving that his plan is built not on human perfection, but on divine mercy. Matthew's genealogy traces the royal succession from David through Solomon, the kings of Judah. Names like Rehoboam, Asa, Jehoshaphat, Hezekiah, and Josiah appear. Men who reigned from about 930 BC until the Babylonian exile in 586 BC. Yet even this royal line was marked by decline, disobedience, and judgment. By the time of Jeconiah, a curse was pronounced over David's throne. None of his descendants will sit on the throne of David or rule anymore in Judah. Jeremiah 22:30. That curse should have ended the royal bloodline forever. But God had another plan. When Joseph, a direct descendant of Jeconiah, took Mary as his wife, he legally adopted Jesus, transferring to him the royal right to David's throne without passing along the cursed bloodline. Through Joseph, the legal and royal qualifications of the Messiah were fulfilled. Through Mary, the biological and spiritual qualifications were met. Together, their union perfectly satisfied God's promises to both David and Abraham, bypassing the curse and securing the crown. Now Luke's genealogy tells a different story, the bloodline of Jesus through his mother, Mary. Mary was a descendant of David's son Nathan, not Solomon. This means her line carried the blood of David, but not the royal curse pronounced on Solomon's line through King Jeconiah, Jeremiah 22:30. It's a remarkable divine symmetry. Through Joseph, Jesus inherits the legal right to David's throne. Through Mary, he inherits the biological right to David's bloodline. Mary's father is believed to be Heli, mentioned in Luke 3:23, and she likely lived around 20 BC to 45 AD. Her ancestors, from Nathan to Mattatha, Levi, and Mathat, span centuries of faithful Israelites waiting for redemption. When Jesus was born around 4 BC, the world had been waiting nearly 2,000 years since Abraham for this moment, the fulfillment of God's covenant promise. And the symbolism runs even deeper. Joseph's line shows God's faithfulness through kings and covenants. Mary's line shows God's faithfulness through humble, unseen faith. Together, they paint the full picture of the Messiah, both king and servant, both divine and human. These genealogies are not filler verses. They're proof of prophecy fulfilled. The prophets declared, "The Messiah will come from the house of David," Isaiah 11:1. "He will be born of a virgin," Isaiah 7:14. The genealogies show that both are true. They also remind us of God's sovereignty through history. Even in times of chaos, exile, sin, and silence, God's plan quietly advanced, generation by generation. Every name in the list, from Abraham to Zerubbabel, represents a survivor of God's promise. Even the foreign women, Rahab, Ruth, Bathsheba, represent grace extended to outsiders. And numerically, Matthew's genealogy is divided into 3 groups of 14 generations, a multiple of 7, symbolizing divine completion. It's a story of inclusion, redemption, and divine orchestration that spans 4 millennia. From Adam's creation around 4000 BC, to Abraham's covenant around 2000 BC, to David's reign around 1000 BC, to Jesus' birth around 4 BC, the genealogy spans nearly 4,000 years. Through war, exile, and empire, God's redemptive thread never broke. Jesus was born at the precise moment when Roman census laws required Joseph and Mary to return to Bethlehem, the city of David, fulfilling Micah 5:2. "Out of Bethlehem shall come the ruler of Israel, whose origins are from ancient times." This is no coincidence. This is divine choreography, a 4,000-year story written by the author of time. And it all leads to one man, Jesus Christ, the Son of David, the Son of Abraham, the Son of God. The genealogy of Jesus is more than a family record. It's a declaration that God keeps his promises no matter how long it takes. Through flawed kings, faithful mothers, and generations of waiting, the Messiah came, the Lion of Judah, the root of David, the Word made flesh. Every name in that lineage leads to one, Jesus Christ, the fulfillment of every covenant, the bridge between heaven and earth. So the next time you read the names in Matthew or Luke, remember, they're not just ancestors, they're evidence that God never forgot his promise. Want more biblical deep dives like this? Subscribe to Signs and Wonders, where prophecy meets history and history meets eternity.